Well, hello, Michelle. This is so awesome. I am so excited for this conversation. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm super excited about this. I'm very good.
I'm so glad to hear. So, you are in Costa Rica, and I am in Israel in this moment. And a week ago, we had the idea to do a podcast and to talk about a topic that we feel it's very important to share with people. And I'm going to give some context before we get to it. So, we will dive straight in. So I've been in my journey of healing and awakening, I've been looking into the relationship between the feminine and the masculine within me. So because we all have both of these energies, and throughout the years, I became aware of how important it is to balance out these two energies, and how much when you take care of one energy, that energy supports the other energy. So the more I nurture my masculine, the more I can nurture my feminine, and vice versa. So it got me thinking, and I asked myself a very interesting question, like I'm intrigued to know how is this dynamic in a relationship, like how is this idea of like this both of these energies supporting each other? How does it play out in a conscious relationship between a man and a woman? And so, because I was intrigued, and since I'm a kid, I'm always asking questions like, how does this work? How does it? Why is this? Why is that? I'm a very curious person. So I started to ask this question to many different women who all provided their own perspective and answer. And together we made a very nice article that we can share it and you can read it. But Michelle responded to my question, and if somehow we forgot about it and we didn't add it to the article, so we said we're going to do a podcast. So it's much better. So the question is, how how can a conscious man support a woman within a relationship so that she can feel the most empowered to express herself fully? So what can we do to support your self-expression? That was the beautiful question. And we have so many beautiful answers that we got. And what I'd like to do, Michelle, is to share a summary of what the people shared. And then I'd like to share your answer. And we can dive maybe a little bit um, with your answer. Before that, though, before we go on after this introduction, I'd love to give you a few seconds to introduce yourself or say a few words for the people here.
Yes, I just love this conversation and I love that men are asking these questions. I just feel like this is so important for world where the world is heading. And yeah, just about myself. So my name is Michelle Kessel. Yeah, I currently live in Costa Rica and I'm a somatic and energy healer. I am a mentor for women to come back into their body, into their power, into their intuition and their gifts. So I really help women harness their authentic feminine energy through body-based, energetic-based practices.
Wow, that was spot on. That was amazing. I'm glad that there is women like you in the world doing the work that you do. It's so important. So thank you for that. Um, and alrighty, let's get into it. Let me read. I have here a summary prepared from the article that I'd love to read for everybody. And it goes like this. The feminine opens in the presence of true safety, not through fixing or control, but through a man's grounded, loving, and judgment free presence. She longs to be fully met in all her expressions, light, dark, wild, and tender. Real support comes from inner work, honest communication, and mutual partnership. When a man shows up anchored in himself and devoted to truth, he becomes a safe space where the feminine can fully express. And from that, divine union is born. This is a very short summary of what the women were talking about. But overall, the main answer amongst all the women was safety, safety through presence. That was the one thing that always came up. And now I'd love to read the answer that you gave. And I divided into three separate parts, but I will read it all once and then we'll focus on each part. So you started writing like this: being a protector, so that part of us can shut off and we can relax into our magic. That's the first part. I love it. And then I'm gonna need some water. I'm gonna get some water in a bit. I totally forgot that I'll need it, so my voice is a little bit rough. Sorry. But holding loving boundaries so we don't spiral in our emotions, and listening and supporting our intuitive hits and acting on them with us. So this is beautiful, and I feel like we have to dive into it. I want to ask you about this so you can expand a little bit more. And then if we have some time, I have some other questions that I prepare as well. So let's focus first on being a protector so that part of us can shut off and we can relax into our magic.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you mentioned the core theme is safety, that's because, like, on a biological level, women, like, we just don't feel as safe in the world. And that's from intergenerational trauma and, yeah, just being a woman alone, walking in this world. Like, there's so much energy we expend to, like, am I safe right now? And so, in the presence of a safe man, we get to turn that primordial part of our brain off. And that is what really allows us to go from overthinking and overanalyzing and being hyper aware of our surroundings to dropped in to the body, to safe, to nourished, to I'm just in my heart, I'm in my womb, and I can just feel through life. I can be in my magic because I'm not hyper vigilant. I can focus on these intuitive pings. I can focus on my playfulness, on the fun, on like this flow and this receptivity that's innate to me because I'm not in this role of I have to protect myself.
I love that. I love that so much. And you know what I love about it so much is that this is not just men serving women or like the masculine serving the feminine, but when we do that, we are actually receiving as well right away. Because we as men, we need your intuitive wisdom. We need your divine feminine presence as well. And by us providing that safety to you and you being able to fully express that side, we end up receiving so much more. So this is something explained in Kabbalah that in the end, the woman ends up being a much bigger giver. So it's a beautiful dynamic. I love how this displays that it's beautiful.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that's
uh,
really important to note because I feel like a lot of women feel like they can be a burden and they don't want to put that pressure on someone, and it becomes this like hardened mentality of like, I have to be this like warrior, and I like, no, like that's not fair to give it to someone, but that's actually like a wound of you don't feel like you're allowed to share that and you're allowed to give and you're allowed to like also inadvertently receive and just be in this how I'm like seeing it like in my mind is just like this water like pouring out and then water like flowing back in, like this symbiotic relationship that men and women are meant to bring to each other. And I always tell women like it's okay to ask men to like do things for us when it's coming from a like not a manipulative or a coercive place, but from a genuine place of like, I want your support because men want to support us.
We love that. We love to be asked to do stuff. Like you're literally giving us an opportunity to express our masculine energy. So
Mhm.
like please, like yes, let us be of service. Like ask what you need from us always. 100%. Let's go and continue with the second part, and this is very interesting. It got me thinking. Holding loving boundaries so we don't spiral in our emotions, because this is very interesting because on one end, I was thinking more about radical acceptance of all feminine expression so that we can hold space for you for all of your sides. But then at the same time, you're asking us to provide some type of supportive boundaries. So where is the balance? How does this play out?
Yeah, I think this is so important because there's a lot of like inverted polarity teachings of like, yeah, like let the woman just like spiral and like just watch her spiral and like no, like we need to be contained sometimes. And a true
Hmm.
masculine man can come into that leadership and contain it because if I'm spiraling about all these things, like maybe I don't need you to like accept that. Maybe I need you to be like, babe, you're fine and like put an end to it and like drop it back from like the spiral into like what the truth is in that moment. And this comes with the masculine leadership and the masculine discernment because, you know, if there's like a real um emotion that's arising, it's not like you're fine. It's like no, like hold space for it and like witness love. And yeah, I think that's just where that discernment comes in of like when it's she's just like in her chaos and she's spiraling and she's creating this storm that's not actually serving her. It's not serving her. It's not serving the me. It's not serving the union. It's not serving God. There's no point like I'm gonna be the one to stop this. Or like it's actually serving her to like release this, to like have a safe space. It's serving me to witness this. It's serving the union. It's serving God for this to like come out.
Wow, it's beautiful. Yeah, it's like if the man is truly in his masculine, he will first of all just by being in that energy, he will radiate that safety, right? So he will provide that already, and maybe that energy, that vibration will be enough to hold her and contain her and not let her spiral out of control, right? Maybe that will be enough, but maybe he will feel that he will need to be more reassuring, maybe say something, right? Maybe hold her tighter and say something and say, no, you're okay. Um, yeah, makes sense. I love this. Let's go to the next part. So the last part you said listening and supporting our intuitive hits and acting on them with us. And this is like I am totally so for this. And at the same time, I ask myself a question because we talk so much about masculine leadership, and the men usually men because they're more masculine are more connected to the brain because of the roles that we're supposed to play in society. That's the way God creates the world, and women are more connected to their intuition. So how do we balance the leadership? How do we give space so that both men and women can lead? Or are we leading in different dimensions? Or how does
Yeah.
this work?
Yeah, we're leading differently. Like I do think one of like the inverted polarity teachings is that men are always leading because that actually disconnects a woman from leading the relationship through her intuition and through her vulnerability and emotionality. So the men lead physically, but the women are leading everything emotionally, energetically. And I see a lot of times like clients will avoid those hard conversations because they're like, well, shouldn't he be leading? It's like, no, babe. Like you have to lead with your heart and you have to say what you're feeling and then give space for him to change the action and to lead in the action. You don't need to lead in that sense. So it's just leading in different ways. But yeah, like in the physical world, we want the men to be leading, we want the men to be guiding, we want the men to be taking charge, we want to trust them in that. And vice versa, we want the men to trust us in leading with how we feel, with what we sense is right, with if we feel like there's a fracture in the relationship and we can bring it up and then allow them to shift and lead accordingly.
Amazing, amazing. That you explain it so well. Thank you for that explanation. Um, wow, this is such an interesting topic. It's amazing. I started asking this question totally out of curiosity because I knew it was gonna bring some interesting stuff up. And I never thought about the fact that asking this question, the answer that I will receive will be the answer for who do I need to be? Who do I need to become if I want to attract a divine and conscious woman into my life? So this question is allowing me to become a whole lot more masculine, a whole lot more of who I am. And it's a blessing. It's beautiful because now I see, okay, this is what feminine needs from me. Me as the masculine, as the provider of that, I need to know like what am I expected to provide. So I'm sharing this with my friends. Like I'm sharing this with more men so
Please
that so
do.
that
Oh my
so that
gosh.
like
Like,
men can
I want to
vote,
shout
right?
this from the rooftops.
I think this is great for women so that they know what they deserve, what they should look for, and what should they expect from their partners. And
Yeah, and
men, for men,
how
this is great.
women can also like do their parts. Like we both need to do our part. And sometimes
Hmm.
I feel like in the spiritual community, the work like falls really heavily on the woman. But I also believe that's for a reason because like
Hmm.
we can be the ones to lead that side of things, you know?
Hmm.
But also
Yeah.
men need to learn how to be the ones to like step into their masculine role as well. Like that's very much needed.
Yeah. I envision a world where we all connect more with ourselves, with our highest selves, and we're all more aligned with our
Mhm.
highest expression. I see that world happening, and I believe I will see that happening in my lifetime, in this lifetime.
I mean,
I'm
we're
I'm
the
positive.
future ancestors. We have to be the ones to create it.
Exactly. Yeah. Let me ask you a few questions. Okay. Random questions. It's gonna be like a fast question
Okay.
answer. Okay. So, what does emotional safety feel like to you in your body when you're with a man?
Yeah. It feels like openness. Like there's no like when okay, I feel like it's easier for me to share what I feel like when I'm not emotionally safe. Because that's honestly
Okay.
been more common. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that feel like that's what it feels like. My throat is one of the first parts that begins to close, and that's because I've personally just had a lot of trauma where I didn't feel safe to share my nose or what I felt. And so that part of me like comes up where it's like, oh my God, is it like it's not safe? Like, can I? And then yeah, like my womb tightens, like every part of me just like feels like, oh my gosh, not safe. And then on the other side of the spectrum, to feel safe would be able to feel that relaxed. But at the same time, if you're someone that has trauma, even in the presence of a safe man, you might not feel safe because your nervous system might be seeking familiar patterns and it might feel bored. It might be like, like I don't like it might feel like it wants that chaos. So it might feel like really boring, actually. Like there's not a firework or there's not a butterfly or like something running in your stomach, like "Drrr." Like it might just feel like nothing. And that's
Mm-hmm.
healthy.
Wow. Maybe I'm sure you probably work with women, right, in these areas. Would you like to
Mhm.
share a little bit about the work that you do and like, yeah, how do you go around serving and helping women to let go of that trauma and be able to receive that safe and conscious man?
Yeah. So the work I do is like all somatic, not all, but mostly like somatic and energetic based. And I'll guide clients into those areas where they're holding that tension, their throat, heart, stomach, womb, whatever. And I'm an intuitive and I'm able to have a clear vision or knowing whatever that way I perceive it of like where that root is. And I'm asking the client questions to get them to connect with that tension in their body and become connected to their intuition and attune to where it came from. And once we're able to track that, then I guide them to release it in like, I don't know, I have a few various modalities in the release. They can be as gentle as just like noticing it, or it can be more cathartic, like letting out loud sounds. And then energetically, I also assist in like clearing any cords, fractures, attachments, ties to those traumas and those energies and those situations and those peoples. and really like guiding the client back to like reclaim that part of themselves, that part of their soul that's been fragmented and return to wholeness.
Wow. Yeah, I have to say, I can say from experience, you gave me a session and it was like, wow, like your intuition is super, super refined. It's beautiful. Like I haven't met someone, I don't know if I've met someone or very few people that are close to or as like as intuitive as you are. So I highly recommend working with Michelle, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let me shoot you a different question, okay?
Sure.
What makes you trust a man's presence is truly unconditional and not performance or control disguised as care?
Mm. For me, it comes down to the actions because often in dating, I find that the men say all the right things, especially in the beginning. They love to fantasize, like, oh, like this and this and this, and like all these things that make you want to feel trusting because you're like, oh, wow, they're like planning this future. And then the actions don't follow through. That's quite common. So for me, the trust, that feeling of trust, it comes through consistency of action over time. It's not something that someone just gets right away. It's a feeling that's built. It's a feeling that capacity that grows as those words and actions are being matched, as they're actually walking their walk and not just talking their talk, and they're able to own like what they say and not say things just to try to get something from you to manipulate you because that often
Mhm.
is what I have experienced.
Alrighty, so for all the men out there, it's time to walk the talk.
Yeah.
Time to take action. I say that to myself. I'm starting to take action. After a whole year of being in my feminine healing and well, I kind of needed it. I went through an intense time.
Yeah.
But this is the beauty of the balance of the feminine and the masculine. You know, sometimes you need to heal, you need to just be.
Yeah.
And now it's time to get up and take action. Let me switch another question, okay? And if at any time you feel like when you want to break or something, because there's so many questions, I'm just gonna shoot them, okay? All right. How do you know when a man is truly with you versus trying to fix or change your experience and who you are?
Mm. It's more of a feeling. I can just feel when they're connected to the present and the truth
Mm-hmm.
and the reality of what is. It's like my body just feels like it's matching their presence and their current reality versus the energy can just feel like more scattered and ungrounded.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's like this grounding feeling that I'm like, okay, like they're present, so let me match
Mm-hmm.
that. Versus if I'm scattered and they're scattered, it's like, what? It's crazy.
Wow, you know what? Interestingly, I'm just realizing as I'm asking these questions that these questions are so from the mind and so masculine. And it's like you're finding a way to put into words your feminine intuition, and it's beautiful.
But that's just how it is, you know? It's hard for me. Like, that's just how I answer things.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. I love it so much. Okay, let me ask you questions about your experience in relationships, if you have. Yeah. What parts of your feminine expression have felt most welcomed in conscious relationships, and which parts have felt maybe a little bit misunderstood or rejected, maybe even?
Yeah, so I've never been in like a long-term relationship, but I've had like shorter term, like dating experiences. Um, yeah, I've been very picky and I'm a devote to one man kind of woman. So, in this sense, in like those experiences that have been more conscious and loving, I would say my feminine has felt like the most. Wait, what was like that part? Was the feminine most safe? What was the question?
Like which parts of your feminine expression have
Parts.
felt more welcomed? Like the man has an
Mhm.
easier time understanding and accepting, and which parts maybe men can improve in being welcoming of, and
Yeah.
understanding.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, I would say, yeah, like the love and the playfulness and the intuition and the receptivity, those are all like accepted and encouraged. And I mean, some of these men are like, "Oh yeah, you're so feminine," and blah 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 and whatever. Um, and then I feel like the parts that maybe are more difficult would be like like the anger, especially towards men, because that's very real.
Mm,
I I'm not going to speak for all women, but I can speak for myself, and I think many women can agree that a lot of us hold a lot of anger towards the masculine,
mm,
based off of the patriarchal society, based off of past traumas. I mean, I know most women have gone through sexual trauma in macro or micro forms, so there's like a lot of that like lingers of just like this anger of like feeling, yeah, just not fully like loved and cherished and respected and more just like coerced and violated.
hmm. Wow, interesting. But I'm thinking about this and I'm like, okay, how can we provide a safe space for you to feel the anger, feel the emotions and express it? But also at the same time, how can you be conscious of us and not project that anger necessarily towards us because maybe we are triggering of it, but not necessarily the source of it.
Yeah, totally. I think that's a really beautiful point. Yeah, I think it just comes down to, as the woman, being aware that you're not shaming the other person or pointing your finger at them, and instead just like speaking from how you feel. And it's up to like that person to, you know, decide whether they can like hold that space for you, or maybe that man is just like, this is something that you need to work through on your own. I don't know. There's like nuance and context to everything. And I don't really believe like, yeah, we should be like coddling each other like therapists in a partnership. Like that's separate work. But I do
Hmm.
like know that, yeah, anger can is like what can come up. And if like the partner can offer just like a safe presence for that to be like moved through and alchemized into love, like that's what's coming through for me. What I would desire for someone is because like I've done all the work that I can do solo, and the next level of healing would be with someone else co-regulating, and that would just look like helping like alchemizing that anger into love. Like you don't like you can like you don't have to hold that anymore. Like you can like bring love into those parts of your body now. You can bring love into your experience now. Like that, like you've healed it. It's gone. Like let's rewind, let's bring in the new energies and those new beliefs and those new emotions. So that's what would be supportive, is like someone that can like help you rewire that.
Amazing. I think it's teamwork. It's about also on the men's side to not take it personal, to understand that this anger is not necessarily directed at him, but this requires communication on the women's side also to communicate that, to say that hey, I need a space so I can express my anger and this anger because I don't know. Let me know what you think. But me personally, as much as we talk about expressing our emotions, when it comes to expressing our emotions and how we feel about somebody else, I am still like debating how what's the healthy approach if you're supposed to repress a little bit of the emotion because you're having the other person's emotions in mind, and then you can maybe express your anger in a different place, so don't express your anger to the person. Maybe keep yourself composed and then express, let that anger out, but don't let it out on somebody else. That's my approach in life. So I'm thinking that it should be the same in a relationship. if you have that anger, put because anger is also important to express, especially within dynamics and within relationships, because it's how we express boundaries. The
Mhm.
question is the question is how do I do it, right? Because I can express my anger in somebody else, or I can express my limitations by holding my emotions. I can wait. I can maybe go first and express the anger alone, let it out, and then come and communicate my limitations. I don't know. Like, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I feel like there's nuance to every situation because, yeah, there can be like definitely we need to learn how to self-regulate. And it's not always like your partner needs to co-regulate for you. Like that's codependency. But yeah, then like once you're regulated, you can have that conversation, share your experience. But then there's also like healing through that union and through that dynamic. And I think
Mhm.
with like the anger, it's like, I mean, it depends like what that person did, but at the same time, it's not about like, you did this and you're a blah, blah, blah curse word, but more like, I'm angry. Like, I feel so hurt. I feel
Mm,
so betrayed. Like, my like heart is cracking open. Like, as a woman, like, we want to express like what it is that's actually like happening inside of us, what it is that we're feeling. Like are we feeling abandoned? Are we feeling betrayed? Are we feeling shut down? Like letting like just sharing that instead of like you broke me. It's like no, like my heart is broken and like letting the other person decide how they want to be a man and fix it.
wow. Yeah. It's like it's first is about how you're feeling. It's about you. I
Mhm.
feel this way. Second is about, okay, me, what can I do within this relationship to support you? But it's first about how you're feeling. I feel like men, because they're so wired to fixing things already, then when you're expressing how you're feeling, because that's exactly what you need, just to express what you're feeling, maybe because we're so wired, we instantly take it personal and we try to fix it. I feel like that's what's happening. I love
Yeah.
how I
Yeah.
haven't been in a relationship in like years, and I'm talking about relationships. It's always to
Yeah,
see
I
what people are
mean,
smarter to.
also, but that's the thing, like, you don't have to be in one to be embodied in the teachings necessarily. Like, for
Mm-hmm.
example, when I'm like dating, like, I, I like abide by these rules. I use
Mm-hmm.
my voice, I say how I feel, I'm in my feminine, but I don't give them my devotional love because they're not commitment to me. So that part I'm still like, I'm not embodied in, like, that full, like, devotional love component, you know?
Yeah, and also we become first, and then we do, right? That's how we create. That's how we attract. So eventually, if we see ourselves actually living and doing these things, it's because we first became that. So I
Mhm.
guess that's what we're doing,
Yeah,
and
and
that's
all
what we're
in God's
inspiring
timing, you know? Some people are meant to have multiple relationships and learn through them, and some people are meant
here.
to, like, learn through other modalities and become really certain in who they are, really embodied in who they are, and just meet, like, that one person and coast.
Hmm. Yeah. So I before I go into the next question, I wanna go over again what you said because it's so important. I feel like maybe this is one of the key points of this whole conversation, and this is for the men. Understand that the women, the feminine, has a need on its by its nature. It has a need to express itself, to express exactly what it's feeling. That's a need. And we provide that space, that safe space for them to express by not trying to fix, by not trying to go and do something about it, but literally we just have to be, just have to exist, be present, and listen. And eventually, maybe, yeah, sometimes after that, there is a need for a practical solution, and maybe the time will come for that. But there is a separate need, and it's a need on its own to just be heard, to just be helped. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I think
something to
that's
have in
something a
mind.
woman can lead with emotionally and energetically is be like, "Hey, babe, I don't want a solution right now. I just want you to hold me.
Hmm.
Like that's up. This is like where
Yeah.
a woman needs to do her work to figure out like what is it that I actually need with my emotions?
Hmm.
Is this emotion something that like I want support for? Like I want a solution. Is this an emotion I want a hug for? Is this an emotion I just want to be witnessed in and just asking for it? And then the man can lead
Yeah.
physically.
Yeah. Love that. Alrighty. Let me show you a different question. So this is a little bit on a different topic, very connected, of course. Um, why is it important for a man to be doing his own inner work in order to truly support the feminine? So this is something that the women have responded a lot, that in order for a man to support a woman in her feminine expression, so we have to do our inner work. For me, it's very obvious, right? But I want to hear like your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, if someone doesn't have any emotional intelligence or emotional capacity, and a woman that has been going into herself, unraveling things, knows herself, it's going to be extremely triggering for that man, and they're not going to be able to hold her. They're not going to be able to understand her, and it's going to cause them to shut down or
Mhm.
respond in a way that's not actually like what they want to be responsive in. And it's just, yeah, it just causes chaos. But conversely, I have been deconstructing a lot. Um, I don't necessarily believe that a man needs to be like in the healing world. Like they just need to be emotionally intelligent and conscious and willing to become self-aware, but they don't need to be like going to like men's retreats and doing all these like they don't need to. That's actually something I've been really like rooting in deeper and deeper that that's not necessary, and that's like what a woman can do, and maybe a man like instead wants to go build a house, and that like makes him feel better, you know.
Hmm. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, sometimes the retreats or the sessions, they help, but ideally, like healing is about returning, about remembering, right? Sometimes we forget or we strive, so we need to remember and come back. Um, okay, so what are some signs that a man is anchored in himself, and how does that impact your ability to open? It's a little similar, but more of like how what are the signs that you see in a man and you're like this man is grounded, he's connected to himself, he's present, he like beyond being an intuitive feeling, because I know that it's an intuitive feeling. What are some things that you can say that could inspire some men to try to adapt?
Yeah, okay. Well, what's coming through right now is that their energy isn't leaking, and I can explain that more. So maybe you are walking on the street and you see a man, like his eyes are just looking at every single woman that just does not feel safe at all, versus a man that's just like poised, and you can just sense that his energy is in himself. It's not like, ooh, what's that shiny object everywhere? And like, what can I get? What can I take? And like, how it's like this vampire energy of like, oh, I want to like take this
Wow.
light from all these things. Cause that's very real, especially like energetically, the vampires. So like the most thing is just like containing your energy, coming back to yourself, having hobbies that ground you back to yourself, doing masculine things with the earth, getting your hands in the dirt. I don't know, like whatever makes you feel like a man. You can just tell when someone like is just chilling in who they are. It, yeah, it really is energetic though.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. But yeah, I love that. It's like you're centered in yourself. You're not looking out, right? You have your own gravitational point, you have your center.
Mhm.
You're aligned with your energy. Okay, so let's jump to a little bit of a different topic. So, what does divine partnership mean to you?
To me, I want to share about, can I say divine union instead of divine partnership?
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's just the word that I'm like familiar with and what I'm personally attuning myself to. And for me, union is the divine union. It's a relationship where like each person is in union within themselves. And there's like, it's like the relationship is you, your partner, and God. And it's like the relationship is in service to a union that's higher than you guys. It's like it's not about you, it's about the union as a whole because this divine union is meant to be like this penetrative force of love on this planet that calls you higher into your mission, that calls you deeper into your heart, that just brings you to this higher caliber of like this frequency that you're here to carry, and it's built on like the foundation of love and sovereignty and respect and trust and work. It's not like leaving when things are hard or wanting the next shiny thing. It's like a commitment to the union and being in devotion to each other and being in devotion to God and yeah, just I'm just like seeing like this vision of like when people come into like this union, it's like this gold like shooting star just bursts and like darkness on this world like just cannot survive because everyone's in their divine purpose and that heals so much of the collective trauma is when women are in their divine purpose and men are in the divine purpose and they're raising kids that are having less trauma to heal and are being pushed, or not pushed, but being given the opportunity to step into their divine mission and their divine path.
I love that. I love that so much. I wanna share something that connects to this since we're talking about divine union and we've been talking about what can the men provide. And I feel like in order for us to provide a safe space for the women to connect and express all over the parts, we have to nurture a relationship with all of those parts within ourselves.
Yeah.
So that means I need a relationship with my body physically. I need a relationship with my emotions, with my subconscious, with my spiritual side, right? If I want to hold a spiritual space for you to express yourself spiritually, that means that I need to have a relationship with my soul, with my spiritual side. So that's work that we can do in order to provide that type of space for you. And when it comes to divine union, I think that the beauty is that the man we receive from God. By having a relationship with God, we nurture from God. And since we are carrying this energy, then we can come and we can be a provider of that energy to you. We can hold that space because in order for you to feel safe, right, to navigate and fully dive into your spirituality, you need to feel safe spiritually also. And what better than a man that is connected to his spirituality to provide that within a divine union? Yeah. Um, okay, let me see this. Okay, so there's a very, very debative question, right? A debatable question, a lot of controversy around this, and is about the man being in his feminine. Does that mean that we're supposed to be in our feminine in your presence? Like, are you supposed to also like hold space for us? Or are we supposed to find that space amongst other men or God? And honestly, I feel from my experience, I feel like the healthiest thing to aspire for is for men to receive from other men. So receive space for us to connect with our emotions from other men and also directly from God, to ask God to hold us. Like I literally this year so many times because I've been to war and it's been a really, really intense time for me. and I needed a lot of healing, and I didn't really have the people to hold me. So I asked God to hold me. I will like curl up in bed and I'll ask God, please, tonight, I need you to hold me. And when we are held by God, we receive this energy, and then we can come and we can give to you. So we are the initiators, being the masculine, we initiate the energy of holding someone else. After doing that, I feel like then you can provide us so much more. You give back to us so much more, so much spirituality, meaning, intuition, and purpose. Like you remind us of who we are, why we're here. Your femininity inspires our masculinity. So in the end, you're much more of a giver. But I feel like initiating, I feel like for men, the healthiest is as a default, as a general rule, is to receive more from men and from God. And I'd love to hear like what are your thoughts on this?
Totally. I think this goes both ways. Women are meant to gather with other women and be held
Mm,
in sisterhood. And it's like the most important thing in the world. I don't think like our relationships are not meant to be like our coaches, our therapists, like always holding ourselves in these emotional things. Like we can get that from our brothers, from our sisters, from our mentors, from God, etc. And there's a time and place where we
hmm
can get that from a relationship. But if that becomes like too much, can perpetrate this like wounded healer dynamic instead of this like
mm,
clarity, devotion, passionate dynamic. And that like will lose like the sex drive if it's like all like just this emotional thing. And on another like thing, it's like, yeah, you don't want the men to be always coming to you with their emotions because that just does not feel attractive. But
not
at this,
masculine.
no, like you're kind of like, okay, but like everyone, like at some times that is necessary, like that it can be really
Hmm
healing for a man to be held while he cries, because I'm sure that does not happen as often as it does for women. And there is a time and a place where like that's probably healing for you too, because you're not holding a
Yeah,
man like that. Um, so like in like some circumstances, absolutely, but more often than not, I would say it's gonna kill the polarity.
yeah. I think as a general rule, and this is very controversial, right? And I'll get to it. As a general rule, we can say that men hold more masculine energy or represent the masculine energy, or maybe you could put it a different way. The healthiest state for a man to be in is to be in his masculine, right? To be creating, to be providing. And for a woman, the healthiest state, the more aligned place to be is to be in her feminine. But she also has a masculine energy, just like we have feminine energy.
Totally.
But maybe within the relationship, it's about, if I'm a man, then it means that I'm mostly in my masculine. Then it means that I'm usually in the relationship, I want to be more in my masculine. But then because I have some femininity also in me, so sometimes it's also good and healthy for me to go into this. But all of this is assuming, right, that men have more masculine energy, but it's not like this, right? Especially me, like I once spoke to an astrologer and he told me that I had like 53% energy masculine, right? Masculine energy, and the rest like all feminine. So like I have a lot of feminine energy for a man. So you see, it's not always it's not, every person is different. But as a
Totally.
general
Every
rule,
person is different, but then some of it is like our wounds speaking as well. Because I used to
yeah.
be like hyper masculine, all from a wounded place. Like that was not my essence. And I feel like my core essence is like, I mean, if we're gonna put percentages on it, I'm hearing 92% feminine, 8% masculine. Like,
100%. You radiate a lot of feminine energy, Michelle. Yeah. Um, do you wanna dive a little bit into this? Share a little bit about the wounded feminine and the journey of women reconnecting with their feminine energy.
sure. Yeah, I think it can be so layered because I do feel like the initial awakening to the feminine may steer you into the wounded feminine. And for those that don't know, the wounded feminine is, I'm seeing her as like the one that wants to be saved, the one that wants to be validated, the one who is still kind of waiting for someone to tell her like she can be a queen. She's kind of like, "Oh, like let me wear the dresses and be soft and cute and playful," but she's not in her power yet. That's the wounded feminine. And yeah, usually like on that journey of like chipping away that masculine armor, that's who comes out. And that's beautiful because that's like kind of how it works through that evolution. And then that next stage to come into the empowered feminine is integrating the light feminine, which is that soft and flowy and like beautiful and princessy vibe with the dark feminine who has her boundaries, who's not afraid of her rage, who can tell someone no with her full body, who is integrated in her sexual energy, who is disciplined and devoted to her mission and her knows her power and her purpose. That's the empower feminine. She's a mix of it all. She knows when to be weaving between the worlds, when to be more soft and intuitive, and when to be more like stern and in her power and direct and know what she wants. And yeah, it's like this really journey to come back to your power.
Wow, thank you. So, can you share with us a little bit, like what what are the circumstances and environment that a woman may be born into that causes her to develop this armor and to be disconnected from her feminine energy? What could be some things that women can go through that causes this, and what are some things that they can do in order to go into their empowered feminine?
Yeah, well, living in the Western world is the biggest thing. The whole programming of the Western world of like for me, it was like, yeah, you go to school and you get straight A's, and these are the types of jobs where you make money, and you like the school system. It's like it was like 8 hours of school and then like 5 hours of homework, and then go do extracurricular curricular activities, and there's no time for like nourishment or rest or finding like what you like.
Mhm.
It's all just this programmed society, and it's like climb this corporate ladder, achieve, excuse me.
No
Yeah,
worries.
just like these achievements and these, I need to like be
Yeah,
successful and prove my worth. So
yeah.
just pause myself. And
It's fine. It's
then,
okay.
um, yeah, then the deconditioning of that is softening. It's feeling all those emotions that you never were able to feel because you were tying your worth to success. What does it mean to be worthy of just who you are? What does it mean
Hmm.
to be a woman, to live in harmony with a cycle that's 28, 30 days instead of 24 hours like society puts us in? What does it mean to come
Hmm.
home to your body, to love your body as it changes, to learn about your body, to love the biological differences of being a woman, that our nervous systems are not wired to work that hard? It's like it's not good for us. It
Hmm.
like hormones, thyroid, biologically, like this is where a lot of infertility and these damages are caused. It's by overexerting what our biological nervous system was built for. So just coming back to like the biology of a woman, the nervous system of a woman, the softness of a woman, and just coming home to what that actually means. And I'm just against modern feminism completely. I mean, I believe in equal pay and equal rights, but I don't want to do what a man can do. I want to do what a woman can do. And I want men to do
Hmm.
what men can do. And I want us to live in harmony. Doesn't mean you need to be a stay-at-home housewife, but if you want to be, amazing, be it. But it does mean
Hmm.
like you don't have to be climbing a corporate ladder and working so hard where you're giving your life away. Like I want to be able to have babies and be able to stay at home with them and work on my business. But like, my number one thing would be like taking care of the family in the household, and that can look different for everyone. I know, like, this can be very controversial,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's just my 2 cents.
2 cents, more than 2 cents.
Yeah,
Uh,
$100 bill.
yeah, that was awesome. And you know what's so intriguing for me? Because I was expecting you to talk about serious traumatic experiences that women can go through that most women don't go through, thank God. But you're talking about conditioning and about societal constructs that they on themselves are actually very traumatic.
Yeah,
And
society is traumatic. That's what I mean, like, when someone's like, "I don't have any trauma," and maybe you didn't have, like, an
yeah.
assault or a rape or, like, a family member die or divorce, but, like, just being born into our society is traumatic, and there are little T
Hmm.
traumas that we get to choose to heal if we desire. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't talk about is like those little T traumas that cause this armor
Hmm.
around us that's not of service.
Yeah. I guess any moment that we're not aligned, we're in trauma, we're traumatic ourselves. We are disconnecting and getting further from who we are. So yeah, anything that isn't in alignment is traumatic to us, traumatic to the soul. Let me find here a different question. We have some more time. Um, so going back to the question that we asked before, a little bit about when men express their feelings. So how does it impact you when a man vulnerably shares his truth with you, even when it's messy?
I think it's beautiful because women bring women are more connected to the emotional world, and that's like what we often desire from men. We're like, oh, we just want him to like be in his emotions and connect to that. And well, sometimes we just need to talk to a sister and get that. There are times we like really want that from our man and we want them to drop into their heart and to open up that way. And it makes us feel really safe. It makes us feel understood. It makes us feel seen. It creates like that healthy love. It creates more connection from heart to heart because men
Hmm.
often are not living from their heart, but that's just not how they're designed to live. And we can't force men to do that. That would be like forcing men to be women. And just like we don't want
Mm.
to be forced to be men, men don't want to be forced to be women.
That's interesting. It's like, yes, it's healthy and it's needed for us to be connected, but we are men, we're more masculine, and well, every person, however masculine they are, we are expected more to be in our masculine. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been
Yeah.
tuning into this recently with like being like, yeah, my dad's emotionally unavailable. And then I realized maybe
Mm.
that's really healthy for him in a way because he was able to focus on taking care of the household, making sure the finances are in order, making sure everyone is taken care of with food and everything that they desire, everything they need, and working all the time and like providing and protecting. And
Hmm.
sure, there's a certain amount of emotional availability that would have been desired and more quote unquote healthy, but at the same time, he's fulfilling his masculine role.
Exactly. Yeah. Alrighty, with this, we get to the last two questions that I have. And let's start with the first one. If you could give one message to all men who desire to love the feminine more consciously, what would it be?
Ooh, one message. I need to really tune in.
I can give you the second question also, and maybe they're connected.
Okay, sure.
What does the feminine most need from the masculine in this moment in time, individually and collectively? You can put it into one answer if you want
Okay. I already forgot the
to.
first question, but I know I'm on the second one.
So, yeah, if you could give one message to all men who desire to love the feminine
Okay.
more consciously, what would it be?
Okay. I might just answer these two together. But yeah, I feel like what women really need in the world right now is love, safety, and respect with like I feel like a big thing that happens is that men leak sexual energy onto women consciously and unconsciously, but it really affects us and it causes raptures, causes like disconnection, it causes mistrust. And women really need to feel loved and connected to for who they are in their hearts before that energy is shared. And also,
Mm,
women really need to feel safe on this planet. Um, yeah, it's like a challenge to feel safe as women. I mean, I feel really safe because I have built that within myself and I have my relationship with God. But, sometimes when my car breaks down at 2 a.m. and I'm in Costa Rica, I'm praying for a safe man that's going to actually help me with my car. And my prayers have been
hmm.
answered, and some random person comes and helps me, but it could be someone that's
Yeah.
not safe. And just in general, if you see a woman that needs help, like to offer it to her through her safety, and maybe that woman's not ready to receive it,
Yeah.
and that's on her.
Yeah. I love that part that you said at the beginning, that men leak sexual energy maybe too early, right? So maybe as men, before we express that side, which is a healthy thing to do, but it has its time. First, you wanna, because if you don't understand that this has its time and that the woman needs to be ready to receive that, then you're coming from a feminine place. You're coming to take because you want to satisfy yourself. So that puts you already not in a masculine place. So a true masculine man will first focus on, because he's focusing on giving and providing, he will provide safety. And once he realizes that the woman is ready and open to receive, then he will express his sexual side in a very masculine way. So if I on my end, if I can summarize one thing for men, if there is one question that we can ask ourselves every time that we're going to do or say something or who we're going to be, the question is, am I coming as a taker or as a giver? That's the question. Maybe sometimes I will come and ask to be a receiver, but never as a taker, and usually want to be as a giver. So,
And are you
Michelle,
coming
thank you.
from the heart? That's a big
Okay,
thing.
from the
Like,
heart.
or
What does
just
that
like from
mean?
love, from the energy of love. Because
Okay, come
there's like
from a loving
giving
place.
and from the energy of like darkness or manipulation or ulterior
Mm-hmm.
motives. And then there's just like giving with pure love. Like,
Yeah.
like when I am like hanging out with someone, I can feel when energy switches from like this is coming from like their loving self or this is coming from like a part of them that has ulterior motives.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Michelle, thank you so much. This has been the most fun. I can't believe that this is the first time that we're doing a podcast. We know each other for a few years now, but I'm so happy we did it. I'm so happy. This has been a beautiful conversation, and it's given so much more space for so many more topics that didn't come up when we just did the article. So I'm so happy that we did this. Thank you so much. And please, can
Thank
you share
you.
with us like where can people find you, and if you want to share like a few minutes about your offerings and how people can find you.
Yeah, thank you. I think this is one of the most important conversations that's going to help humanity rise in consciousness, like for real.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely. I am on Instagram at it's Michelle Kesil. I have a podcast that I haven't done for 4 years, but it's relaunching next week. It's called
Amazing.
Metamorphosis with Michelle. Yeah, just this whole podcast thing. It's something that I want to get back into sharing longer form messages. And right now, I have a program that's in launch. It's called Embodied. It's a 7-week somatic experience for women where we dive into the layers of the body and clear the blockages so women can come home to their own body, their feminine essence, their intuition, and their power And it's going to be so magical. I'm only taking 4 women because I really value depth and intimacy. Or, yeah, I always take on one-on-one clients and do one-time somatic energy healing sessions as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much for who you are and for what you do. I appreciate
Thank
you,
you.
and I hope you have a beautiful day. And
Yay.
thank you very much for this conversation. Bye bye.
Bye.